Rejoice, young person, while you are young. Your heart should make you happy in your prime. Follow your heart's inclinations and whatever your eyes see, but know this, God will call you to account for all these things. In Ecclesiastes 12, verse 13 and 14 states, "So this is the end of the matter. All has been heard. Worship God and keep God's commandments, because that is what we must do." God will definitely bring every deed to judgment, including every hidden thing, whether good or bad.
Let us pray this morning. Gracious and holy God, reveal within us the message that you have for our hearts today. Grant to us new wisdom, new strength to walk in your ways, to live as you expect, to find peace in the road ahead. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Solomon starts to draw a close to his writing, where he says, "So this is the end of the matter. All has been heard. Worship God and keep God's commandments, because this is what everybody must do. God will definitely bring every deed to judgment, including every hidden thing, whether good or bad." Keep God's commandments. You know, when I read the first 5 books of the Bible, known as the Torah, I find within them 619 laws that the Jewish population holds so tightly to. And I thought to myself, 619 laws. How bad were these people? A.J. Jacobs writes a very interesting book entitled Living Biblically. Actually, the show Living Biblically was based upon his book, in which he wants to discover in his journey, A Year of Living Biblically it's called, whether or not following God's law would draw him closer to God. I spent this week thinking about laws, thinking about my own compliance with them and the own places in which I go, you know what, probably that one's meant to be more of a guideline than a law. I meant to check my speedometer this morning as I came down Carlisle Hill, because if I let off the brake just a little bit, I could easily get up to 40 miles an hour in a 25-mile-an-hour zone. And granted, there are places when the highway seems wide open, and I look down and wonder whether or not 60 or 70 is really more of a guideline. I don't understand all of the rules around how they come up with statistics to determine what the speed limit is on a road. I mean, I don't understand all the specifics of dynamics of tires and how they brake and brake systems and weight ratios and you name it. But I'm sure all of that factors into whether or not I'm going to remain safe on the road. And I know at times we all would like a little bit more information, but I'm not sure if, even if we understood it, if we would always accept it. And God gives us His law. He gives us His commands for, I think, a couple reasons. One is to give us a sense of order, that we all recognize the same set of rules and how we should function. Whether we agree with them or not, it's important to have a sense of what is right and what is wrong when it comes to a particular aspect of life, right? They allow us to live in harmony when we can learn to trust that others will follow and we will follow. And we also know when the scales have tipped to injustice, right? When our speed has gone too fast, or we've rolled that stop sign. When we've maybe taken something that wasn't ours. In various ways, the laws were a sense that drew us together as a community and kept us, in many cases, safe. Judaism had certain ways in which they needed to prepare food as a means to keep them safe from diseases, I'm sure. Do we agree with all those laws today? Probably not. And does the Jewish people even follow them all today? They can't. The temple doesn't even exist anymore. And so there's no place for the sacrificial system. So we tend to start to place some judgment on whether or not what we follow and how we follow and how all this works. And I thought this week about my own family system I grew up in. And I have to tell you, Dad was always the lawmaker, and Mom was always the enforcer because Dad worked all day and Mom had to stay home with 7 rambunctious kids. We're all trying to figure out how we could bend the rules. Now, not me, right? My brothers and sisters, I mean, you know. But the reality is, isn't it, that at times we say, you know what, this law doesn't apply anymore. Or it doesn't apply in this particular situation. And so the debate that occurs in Jesus' day about how does this work and when have we crossed the line? The commandments are not even that clear, are they? I mean, consider just the 10 Commandments. We would all agree, thou shalt not kill is probably a pretty good law. However, it's not clear what we shouldn't kill. I mean, this morning I blew my nose into a Kleenex that had some antiseptic on it, and probably some germs died. There may be a worm or two that was sacrificed on my drive to work today. So, thou shalt not kill in what situation and in what way? It's even unclear in the book of Deuteronomy. In the next 2 chapters later, God informs Moses when they go into the land that God is giving them to wipe all the people out. So does that only apply to certain people in certain times? We're always kind of jockeying, aren't we, to kind of figure out the rules. But there were times in my life that I enjoyed having the rules. My dad had this one particular rule. When you turned 18, he set a curfew. This is what it's going to be. And in some strange way, I don't understand, he'd set his alarm at that time. I think it was 1 o'clock in the morning. You had to be in if you were even an adult. So Dad would set his alarm, he'd go down to the kitchen, and he'd flip the deadbolt on the back breezeway door and head back to bed and go to sleep. Now the other side of that lock didn't have a keyhole, so you were stuck on a cold breezeway all night long. And I'm sure in the morning as he woke up and got the coffee pot going, his mom was generally sleeping in, he'd go out and unlock that door and open it and check to see if he had caught any of his adult kids on the back porch. One night, he caught my sister. She really loved this guy. I mean, she was dating this guy and was so passionate about him. She spent one night on that cold breezeway, and the next time that her dating period went beyond the curfew, she climbed through the hickory bushes up to the only other first floor window that my parents weren't at, which was my bedroom. And I heard. So I got up, pulled up the shade to see my sister. Probably bloodied at this point. Hey, buddy, let me in. Okay, fine. So I went and let her in. The very next night, it must have been a Friday night, Saturday night, or early Sunday morning, I heard again. And I thought, you gotta be kidding me. I knew it was. I tried to stay in bed, but she just made more and more noise. Of course, quiet enough that she didn't wake Dad. So I pulled the blinds up like, what do you want? We're not gonna make this a habit. She's like, come on, buddy, let me in. I said, okay. I need $10. She goes, what? $10? Do you want to come in? It costs you $10. You gotta be kidding. So we argued. I go, yeah, raise your voice. Dad's in the room right next door. I'm sure he'll wake up. She had to climb back through the bushes because her boyfriend wouldn't come any closer than the sidewalk to get $10 from him, come back, through the bushes again, all to get let in. She stuffed that $1 bill or that $10 bill in, and when I went to grab it, she said, "Now you realize," she was older than I am. She said, "I'm going to come in there and kick your butt, get my $10 back." And I said, "You go ahead, I'll scream my head off. And when Dad comes in and I'm in my pajamas and you're in all your street clothes, you'll have some explaining to do." Fine. I think it was about 3 weeks later. I pulled the blind up and there's a $10 bill pasted to it. She was learning. I only made $20 off this deal, but it was funny that years later, at a family gathering, my sister brought the subject up. "Oh yeah, well, when I was late and Dad used to throw the deadbolt, I'd have to pay Joe just to let me back in the house." My dad said, looked at me, he goes, "What?" I said, "Yeah." I let her in one night. The next night she wanted me to let her in, so I told her it cost her $10. He goes, "Really? And how often did this happen?" I said, "Only twice. I only paid $20. And he goes, "You owe me $20. And I said, "No. You weren't the one getting up and unlocking the door." He goes, "No, but I was the one getting up, locking the door. We had the same amount of work, so guess what? You owe me $10. And I want it right now." So I had to pay my dad $10 off of his policy. I wondered if Mom had set the rules, what would have happened? You see, Jesus comes on the scene some years later. The Jews are trying to do the best that they can to follow the rules. And it seems like the lawmakers are making unfair and unjust laws. And Jesus says, look, it's what's behind it that's important. You're not going to get to heaven following the rules in the rule book. You're going to get to heaven following the intent behind what's there. To live in peace and harmony, and to know when the rules don't apply in that situation. And I have to tell you, as the police officer in our house, Mom did a pretty good job of determining when to look the other way, when compassion should be extended, and mercy should be granted before following the letter of the law. It was Mom who nurtured us and cared for us and kept us safe for the most part. Dad did it in his own way, but it was always that mother that said, you know what? And I remember in my days, Mom taught me comprehension and reading, making me sit there and read stuff to her. She made sure the homework was done and the lunches were made. She was the one person I always knew was home when trouble came. Maybe you have someone in your life just like that. Maybe you've had a whole host of them who have come along and been God's extended hand of compassion and grace, especially when the rules seemed not right. Those who have walked amongst us and through our lives, who have demonstrated the very compassion that Christ demonstrates to us on the cross. And as a tribute to them today, I have a video for you to watch from our friends at the Skit Guys.
Here. Oh, my sweet boy. Do you have any idea what time it is? Can you say mama? Mama? Mama. Open big wide for mama. What a big boy you are. What a big boy you are.
can't go to church with jelly all over our face, can we? What are you doing with that snake? You go put that snake back in the hole! Right now!
Hey, buddy! What are you doing? All right, buddy? Hey! Oh, buddy!
It's okay, it's okay.
Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord.
Hey, Mom. Mommy needs just a minute. Please.
Hey Mom, I think you look pretty no matter what, even when your hair looks really weird.
Go straight there and come right out.
Oh, you're honey!
Oh, Mom's here. It's okay. Oh, you're okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Stop it. Mom, Dad, I asked Beth to marry me.
Well, what'd she say? Welcome to the family.
I'm so happy for you.
Hey, Mom.
Where's that grandbaby? Oh, good to see you.
Oh, yeah, nice to see you too.
Oh, it's okay. You did great.
What's that?
Children. You did really great. I always knew you'd be a good dad. You did really, really great.
Mom, what are you doing? Of course you are.
Come sit with me.
You know, I was thinking just the other day about what a wonderful mom you are. I mean, God really blessed me with a great lady. You're my mom. You've always been there for me. Even when I didn't want you to be. And nobody ever believed in me like you do. Thank you. I love you, Mom.
And I love you, son.
As a way of honoring those special ladies in our life today, we have a gift for all women as they leave today. I hope that you will pick it up. As the praise team comes forward, I'd like to take a moment to pray for all those ladies amongst us. On this day, when we acknowledge the importance of motherhood amongst us, we first give thanks to you as a loving parent to us all. For your being all life was born, from your being all life was born, and in your bosom all creation is nurtured. You have formed us in your image as your children and gathered us together as a brood under your wing. You have united us as kindred members of one human family, and we are grateful to be your offspring together. We celebrate your divine love reflected in human expressions of motherhood. We give you thanks for the mothers amongst us and ask that you strengthen them in their daily tasks. Grant them wisdom in the lessons they teach, patience in the discipline they foster, and persistence in their promotion of decency and compassion, both by word and example. May they be given the honor and thanks that they deserve, but often do not receive. We thank you for all those motherly figures, grandmothers, aunts, sisters, wives, stepmothers, foster mothers, guardians, babysitters, teachers, healthcare providers, neighbors, friends, loved ones, and many others who practice self-sacrifice and embody compassion to all who are privileged to be in their influence. Grant them vigor to carry on their work and the satisfaction that the holy privilege of their task affords. We acknowledge to you, O God, that even amidst our grateful celebration, many of us come today with restless spirits, reluctant to name the difficulties that this day can bring. For some, this day brings the sorrowful awareness of their own inability to conceive biological children. Draw your tender spirit near their feelings of self-betrayal, impotence, and grief, and remind them that those who struggle with infertility have always shared a special place in your heart. We pray for those who have suffered miscarriages, those fatigued by fertility treatments, and those struggling through the process of adoption. May they remember that in your power and through your church, they can still leave a lasting legacy beyond themselves. For some, this day is marked by loneliness and grief as they respond this first Mother's Day as a widower, an orphan, or a parent who has lost a child. To those who today live in the wake of the death of a loved one, grant glimpses of the resurrection you promise us all. Bring to them a steady restoration of broken hearts. Allow them to live into their future with hope and empower them to carry out the legacy of lessons instilled within them. For some, this is a day that surfaces ongoing tensions that exist within our personal relationships and family dynamics. We ask for healing from the wounds of the past, and that a path of forgiveness for wrongs both experienced and committed. We pray for the rebuilding of trust forged in honesty, authenticity, and love. We give you thanks for the wide spectrum of motherhood represented amongst us today. New mothers and young mothers whose children are in their most tender years. Mothers of grown children who transition into empty nests and a new chapter of self-discovery. Mothers and grandmothers of advanced years whose twilight of life is marked by frailty of body, but a potency of spirit. Theirs is a cumulative reminder that though our lives are marked by transition and change, your nurture and affection for all your children remains the same. Therefore, remind us to live with a childlike faith, curious to every wondrous mystery that you present, attentive to your every instruction, obedient to your every command, and a willingness to share with one another the love of your children. We give you thanks, O God, who is a loving mother and father to us all, and in whose name we pray each and every day.